We're back on the Talk Shop in Studio 255 from the Laramie Plains Civic Center. I have Ross Davenport in studio, and tonight's guest talking about his business venture, Squarewater, in the ag industry. What makes Squarewater so special?
One of the big things that makes Squarewater very, very, very unique is we're an agricultural company where we're looking at center pivot design. And in center pivots, typical center pivot for large scale irrigation
Goes in a circle,
goes in a circle. We don't go in a circle. We go in a square.
edge to edge, huh?
Edge to edge. Because of the
Follow a
fact
property line.
exactly. Because we are putting circles currently inside of a square plot of land. So if we're putting circles in a square plot of land, that's about 27% of the land mass that is being underutilized. So we took a look at
That's
this.
high.
It's a pretty good amount. And there are some technologies out there like swing arms to try and get out to the corner, the end guns that you've probably driven under and got a free car wash out of and stuff like that. So there's options.
Until April Fools, I dearly needed a car wash. Dearly. This morning I actually had ice on my windshield.
Yep, it was
the coldest I think we've had in 6 months.
Yeah, it was a little chilly this morning.
It was. I had to break the scraper out and get it done. What is unique about Squarewater? How do you get that precision utilization and expansion of surface area utilization?
So what we're really looking at is we'll have a system that knows where the end tower is. So what it is from the center of the property out to the edge of the field, if you're going around in a clock, for example, so if you're looking at 3 o'clock, it's at its full compression. So what we're able to do is as it tracks down the fence line, with the GPS, so it knows where it's at throughout the entire system, we will be able to expand the arm, and it keeps going out, and it will expand 40%. So when we can expand 40%, we can get it all the way out to the corner, make a turn that a tractor will be able to do as well. And then we will go to where it goes to noon again, and it will fully contract back in on itself. So that's where the patent comes into play, is that it is a patented technology where the arm telescopes out and telescopes back in on itself. And now the question would be, how do we get water through it? Well, we're just a carrier for the water. That's where the trick comes into play. We don't run water through the superstructure like all other center pivots. The superstructure in a typical center pivot is where the water goes. We actually carry the water on the outside, which is how we're able to get our expansion and contraction through a flexible hose, and then we run it into a solid hose again. So we'll run it through a solid pipe, through a flexible hose that will be able to lift and lower as it contracts and expands.
What was involved in getting your patent? What from idea? How did you initially take care of your beginning idea, the birth of the concept?
Well, the birth of it, I was actually working on the Jeep. We were putting
really.
It's kind of weird. I went over to a
Willys. What year's your Willys?
1946.
Beauty.
So it doesn't have a seat in the back. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to put a platform in the back. And my friend was over at Mr. Wayne's house. I call him Mr. Wayne. His first name's Wayne, but it always just sounds better. So over at his shop, my friend was working there, and I asked him to build a platform for the back of the Jeep. He's like, yeah, we can build that. So I go over there, and we're talking about it, and we're going through all the bits and pieces, and he showed me how he built it, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. Well, Mr. Wayne comes to me. He's like, hey, you're an engineer. Can you solve this problem for me? So the way it all started was he flew to Cabo, I believe, and as he's flying over the flyover states, he looked down and he noticed that there were green circles inside of squares. And he's like, that just seems like an absolute waste of land, which it kind of comes out to be a little bit of land that could be utilized. And so he came back and he had this idea and he showed me this picture that he had drawn on the wall. And he's like, "Can you make this a reality?" I said, "Well, you've dreamt it, I'll design it." And that's just the way I've always been. I didn't know how bad of an idea this was, to take on. It was quite a labor of love to say the least. So it started there in a garage with sawdust all over the floor and everything like that. And then we decided to take it and we went into the patent attorney's office and he looked at it and he's like, "Okay, we can make a patent out of this." So we have a patent attorney out of Denver that writes up the text behind it. And I drew up all the pictures by hand. It was just, I'm also an artist and it's just kind of something fun to do. So I drew it all up. And then the process, which is a very long process to say the least, it took us over 5 years to get a patent. But the way it works is you submit your information to the patent office. Their job is to tell you it's not unique, which, as you can imagine, a center pivot that expands and contracts seems pretty unique. But they wanted to tell us that we weren't. So we have to go back and forth between the patent office, and we did that probably 6 times because they have 3 months to review, and there's some tape there that you got to get through, to say the least. And in the end, we were able to come to an agreement, and they were able to say, yes, this is a unique design. But it is quite the lengthy process to get a patent, but it is one of those things that will teach you patience, and there's no doubt about that.
So concept to realization, you talk about 5 years. Is that to the model? Is that to the functional deal?
No,
or how's that story roll?
Well, so that's from the idea to just the patent.
Okay.
So to be able to build one of these, now we're looking at additional funding that we're going to need, to be able to build a full scale model. So that's where the research and development comes into play. And we're at this point in time, we're kind of looking for some funding, through different avenues to be able to, bring it in and make a Laramie-based company that can revolutionize agriculture. And so that's our big thing, is that we're a Wyoming-based company. Let's keep industry in Wyoming. Let's make this a reality.
The Wyoming Business Council, on many individuals' sites in the last year, especially through the 2026 legislative session.
Yeah.
And have they been helpful in any way for your Squarewater land operation?
We've talked with them at this point in time. We've just been through conversations with, like the treasurer and, Wyoming State Treasurer and stuff like that. So we've had conversations with them. It hasn't really come to a big fruition at this point in time, but it is something that we have.
Are they an entity that give you more work to do or ease life for you at this point, or is it too early to say?
Too early to say. I would say that if this was to go through, if we were able to find funding and make it all happen, I still think it's going to be. I think it's just more work, but it's going to be fun. It's like I said, it's a labor of love, and it's just something fun to do.
And when was this company? When did you create the company Squareland? Squarewater.
Squarewater was developed. It was one of those things that we were just sitting around, and the name came up, and it was probably. We decided that we needed a company and an LLC that would protect the patent, and so it was just we were just sitting around one day and we came up with the Squarewater, and we're like, that kind of has a ring to it, and so yeah, we've developed our website and everything like that, and we're able to put the information out there for everybody to see.
beyond the surface utilization
Yeah.
and the precision technology itself, you talked off camera about tri-line design.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. The audience has got to know.
Okay, so the tri-line design is a system that we have that, since our superstructure is strong enough to actually carry the water. So we've upgraded the water line to an 8-inch main. So that one has a whole bunch of other benefits that come along with it for like lower pressure mains and stuff like that. So we're able to do that. But since it's a triangular design, we can carry a secondary and a tertiary line on either side of the triangular truss. So now the question would be, why would we want something to be able to do that? Well, it's because we can apply, instead of having a crop duster apply, like a pesticide or herbicide to the field, we can actually apply that from the center pivot itself. So it's a separate line. It's not the dedicated water line. So there's no cross contaminant that can happen. So we could do a pesticide, a herbicide. You could put nutrients into the ground, whatever you need to put into your field that you would use a self-propelled sprayer for, those big tall tractors that, that go
Topical
through
applications.
Yeah, anything that would be applied to the crop itself or applied to the ground,
yeah.
We can do that with our system. That's where the tri-line design comes into play, is that it was just one of those side effects of making a carrier that's strong enough to carry all this water and a secondary and tertiary line.
Where did your engineering education originate?
Oh, now that's the big one. I went to a school across the border. I know. I'm a CSU grad. I know that is bad news in this town, especially.
I just got the EBGBs.
I know, and I teach at the university. I teach drafting at the university here in town. So it is, people don't hold it against me. I do love Laramie. I do love Wyoming, and I want to.
Where were you born?
I was born in Manhattan, Kansas.
Okay.
So I did start my college
Original
career.
flatland.
We're in the Flint Hills out there.
Okay.
So it's the rolling hills of Kansas. It's the pretty part. But we have a lot of ties to Kansas State.
What brought you to Wyoming, or your family to Wyoming?
It was just me, actually. My boss, for my day job, he was able to steal me from Helena, Montana, where I was working as an engineer up there, doing water and everything.
Were you pumping the water out of that hole, the open mine in Butte?
No.
Were you involved with that?
I was not. The biggest mine I ever worked on up there was I believe it's the Anaconda, and I think it was a gold mine. And that is a monster one, and that's out of Anaconda, Montana. So it's the Beale Mountain Mine is what it was, and it's such beautiful country up there. But
yeah.
But it was time for a change of pace, and my supervisor here brought me down, and I just came down here and to be closer to family. But this is the longest I've ever stayed in any place because I love Laramie. It is so beautiful.
Right on. You live in the West Side.
Yep.
A+. Uh-huh. That's a star in your resume. You don't do you stay involved with CSU as an alumni of Colorado State University? Actually, it just almost had lost a tooth and in just saying that, but I'm having fun with you. I'm enjoying, and I'm curious. What's the affinity for your alma mater? This is where you can make more points or lose points.
I know this
is the game show.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I don't really do a lot with as an alum of CSU.
Because you're teaching at Wyoming, huh?
Yeah,
you got some pride that has come into your life.
I know, it's kind of one of those things. You sit there and you're like, wow. As a CSU student, you had that rivalry, but here, as being a resident of Laramie, you realize just how beautiful everything is up here. You know, it's not the thing that everybody always says. You know, the grass actually was greener on the other side. So maybe it's sagebrush that's greener up here. I don't know.
Nice, very nice. Well, we're glad to have you in Laramie, Wyoming. It's not without mention that we met very, very crazy how I had been given from a Cinco de Mayo planning meeting, Ross Davenport and his phone number, and this was the central contact for the cantina,
Yeah.
and that's I call it, and lo and behold, we're in the same place
Yep.
at the same time, just different rooms
Yep.
of that. And so it was totally meant to be. I believe that kind of thing happens. And when stars align, fun things happen. And I've enjoyed learning about Square Water and your patent, of course, and congratulations in that.
Thank you.
And do you employ a number of staff members with Square Water Land, or are you the central employee?
There's three of us
Okay.
that are owners of the company. We're all 33 and a third. However, I am the engineering division, all
Okay.
myself, and that is one of the beauties of it, and that's one of the hazards of it, is that if you're willing to step up and be an owner of a company like this, you know, and be part ownership, you got to do your role. And I know where my lane is, and I stick to my lane, which is engineering, and I love it.
Well, outstanding. So when you're not driving your 46 Willys, what vehicle do you claim to fame?
It's embarrassing. It's a Honda Civic. You know, it's not as beautiful as the Willys, but it does go faster. So I can actually make it over 35 miles an hour. So it's yeah. But
What's the longest trip you've taken in your Willys?
the longest trip was, I think, the Tin Cup pass over in Ouray, Colorado, where we
wow.
went up and over the Continental Divide. And the reason that was the longest is because I've never been stopped so many times to have pictures taken of the Jeep and somebody with their, they would get out of their vehicle and they're like, can I get a picture with, my kids, or, everything like that with the Jeep? I'm like, yeah, come on.
Did the original Willys have seatbelts?
No, I don't believe, because we had to install seatbelts because it's kind of required. So we had to put in lap belts so Dad and I installed some seat belts in there. We had to install new lights, like tail lights and blinkers and all that kind of stuff, because, well, there's some rules and regulations for the road that we had to follow. So
Mirrors and whatnot.
yeah, you have to have a mirror on there, and yeah.
You only need driver's side, or do you need both?
I might get myself in trouble, but I think we only need driver's side.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that. I don't know the rules. I just remember that I have right and left mirrors, and so I thought, well, what would be different? And you gotta love the rain. You gotta love a little bit of snow, and you gotta be a little hardy to drive a 46 Willys.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's. And a lot of people don't get this about life, but it's the journey. And the Willys is really one of those things that bring you back to the moment in time that you're in, because you are exposed to the elements, you're exposed to everything around you, and you have to be in that moment and enjoy the journey that you're on. It's not a destination.
I was going to ask, so the 46 Willys, you're still continuing on the journey. You're not complete with where you're taking it.
No, and it's one that I really wish that I could take my father. He's since passed, but I really wish I could take him on some of these trails and just show him how much fun that I have now with my Jeep, and that him and I put all of that love and effort into, and be able to take them on these journeys. Just take them out in the hills. I was able to take him a couple of times, and it was fun, and I was able to take my nephew with me, and we had some good camping trips. And
Have you done a few car shows in your journey with the 46 Wheelies?
I have not done a car show, and maybe I might think about putting it over there for Cinco de Mayo over in West Laramie.
Nice,
So,
very nice. Well, it's going to be a great event. KOCA 93.5 FM celebrating its 25th year serving the Gem City of the Plains, and it's America's 250th anniversary. Going to be a great event.
Yeah.
I can't thank the Lincoln Community Center and so many volunteers that have collaborated in making it possible to do it. I want to give a shout out to Mary Hopkins, Siobhan Kelly, just two individuals I know. Timmy Trujillo heading up the car show. And if you're interested in having a car in the upcoming car show, May 2nd, essentially 8 or 9 o'clock check-in and placement, and then 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock, it's on. And, there's going to be conversation, great prizes, great recognition plaques, and traditional 10 categories to win in terms of people choice and interior and paint and original and modified and all of those categories. But it's going to be an amazing opportunity, and I know Timmy Trujillo is engaging the community, but excited to get a full assortment.
Yes.
And I hope if you haven't made plans, please make plans with us. We're going to look forward to a great event and the dance, live music with Mecha, and so many coming together and collaborating. And yeah, it's not going to be the same if we don't have the West Side joined by all of Laramie. And this opportunity is one for networking and just socializing and good times. And I'm hoping that some of that fried corn is available again this year, because I still can enjoy it just from the memory of it last. And I don't know how they do it exactly, but phenomenal food at this event. So good times. Latin dancing, presentation and rededication of Stefan Lucero, a Laramie native who was commissioned to do Paredes Hablando, The Walls That Speak, and they depict so many central important points of history and people in making that history happen, from religious beliefs and ag interests and the influences of the train industry and the work on the railroad that our community helped make Laramie. And through 150 years, this is a great opportunity to rededicate this Laramie native artist who made his career success in the Chicano art scene in Denver, Colorado. Kind of bring it back home and take it full circle. We hope to have Lucero family members present on May 2nd, and hopefully there'll be a few speakers. And it's always a treasured opportunity to hear Connie Coca, should she be able to speak with such pride and recall unique storytelling that surrounds the mural that was commissioned by KOCA FM. Looking forward to a great year, and thank you for tonight, Ross. Appreciate your journey with us. Come back anytime.
Sounds good.
We've got this segment brought to you in part by Deviant Piercing and Tattoo. We appreciate Linnell and her team there on Garfield, across from the VFW 2221, serving breakfasts, amazing breakfasts on Sunday mornings. Stop by. Tell them the Talk Shop sent you.